Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and Attention Coach Jeff Copper, and we're here today with the ADD crusher, Alan Brown. Alan, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, as always.
You know, Alan, I got to know you a couple years ago. You have ADD. We've done a couple interviews before. You're really kind of extraordinary because when I first met you, you started talking about the days in New York, the dark days, the drug dealing days, I'm dealing crack cocaine in Harlem when there's an issue going on with your grandmother, and you know, you've really kind of, you know, you're a successful executive and entrepreneur and stuff like that, and we've talked a lot about this, and one of the things that always stands out to me that's really unique about you, and I kind of like to talk about it a little bit on a personal level, is your own personal awareness. Because when it comes to ADHD, it's really so much about self-awareness, and it's difficult. And we talk about strategy and we talk about stuff, but a lot of it comes back to self-awareness. From your perspective, because you've been caught up in this. I mean, I think you told me a story. Literally, I'm in Harlem dealing drugs in the middle of a situation. Again, we don't have to get into details where there was some hardship with your grandmother. Like, what am I doing here? What is it that enables you to kind of catch yourself every once in a while?
Well, like I think there are two kind of ends of this. On the one end, the awareness of how absurd what I was doing, and it was my mother who was actually dying of cancer, and she was in Manhattan at Mount Sinai Hospital. I was living in Jersey City, and I was driving through Manhattan to Harlem, which is Upper Manhattan, to buy large amounts, felony amounts of cocaine. And I won't tell you about how that looks and feels and all that. And then I'd stop by and visit my mother, and because I was a drug addict, I would say, "Hey Mom, sorry I can't stay, I have to go." And on one of these occasions I get home and the awareness washed over me of the absurdity of what I had been doing for some time. And it was that kind of powerful awareness that kind of threw me out of my lazy boy chair and had me pick up the phone and call and find a meeting where I could go and start on the path to recovery. But on the other side of that is when you get your ADHD diagnosis, as I did, especially when it's later in life. I got my diagnosis at 36, and then boom, that awareness again washed over me, and you know, it explains so much of the drug addiction, the irresponsible behavior, the escapism, and a whole host of other things that anyone who's you know, lived with ADHD undiagnosed, yep, you know. But go ahead.
I'm going to pick up where we left off, but I want to tell another story because it's not a one-time thing. The time that you were with a buddy doing something, and he said, "You know, we're going to die." There were some guns involved in this situation, right?
Well, when this is back in the height of the crack epidemic, and when you would go to Harlem to buy cocaine, you would go to an abandoned tenement in front of which were a bunch of guys who represented various apartments up in that tenement. And you would go and you would pick one of the guys who represented one of the apartments. They would take you upstairs, and in that room, it was, again, empty, abandoned. It was nothing but a table, a scale, a guy, a bag of baggies, and a box of foil, a big kilo of cocaine, and then a gun. So that was the setup. That's what you were walking into every time you went to do this. Now, a friend of mine went there at 2, 3 in the morning one time, and we couldn't find our regular guys that supplied us, so we found these other guys on the street. They brought us into a different building, and they said to us, "You guys get on the elevator on the first floor. We'll meet you on the 3rd floor." We stupidly got on the elevator, and just as the elevator door was about to close, my buddy, thank you, you know who you are, stuck his foot in the door. He says, "Al, you know, we're about to get killed." And that was because these guys were setting us up. As soon as we got to the 3rd floor, these guys were going to gun us. They were going to take all our money, and they were going to leave us dead in the elevator. So he stopped that door. It opened back up. We went out back into the lobby. Sure enough, there was the guy who was being the lookout saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, where are you going? Where are you going?" We said, we're getting out of here. I could go.
So here's what's powerful, and honestly, everybody, this interview, I'm springing on him. He doesn't know what's coming.
We're going to talk about Brent.
But here's the thing: is there's a lot of people out there, a lot of parents probably watching this, and that awareness, and we're talking about two almost deadly situations. Your mother's dying, and that type of situation. It took that for it to snap for you to kind of pull it around. And there's more self-awareness now. But at the end of the day, I still got to believe you get wrapped up on it. And this is not easy for those with ADHD, because so often you kind of need that life event to have that experience to say, hey, what am I doing here?
I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many parents of kids and young adults, even young adults in their 30s, are kind of stymied by this ADHD, and they don't know how to get their kid activated, how to get their kid back interested in life again, interested in getting a job, etc. And a lot of the kids are abusing marijuana or something worse. My heart goes out to them, and my hope is that these young people hit some kind of bottom that doesn't kill them, to make them say, wow, there is so much to life here, and I am really wasting it spending it in my room or with these buddies, quote unquote buddies of mine, or doing this whatever stuff, and let me get out there and engage in life. It's now Jeff and I talk a lot about having awareness and being aware enough to pause and to make some of these Zen brain hacks work for us, which takes a kind of awareness. But my hope is really that folks that are out there that are suffering from any kind of addiction or depression or whatever can find some of this kind of washing over of awareness that can trigger them to get up, seek help, do something, and demand change in their life.
And so there's a few things I want to capitalize. I'm doing this thing on purpose because in our world, everybody talks about the need for self-awareness, but nobody really talks about how you get there. And I tell you, if it was easy to do, we'd all be talking about it. But one of the things, I got a few tips that I want to kind of throw in there. Number one is if you're out there and you're watching this video and you're not a parent and you're actually thinking about yourself, it's almost simulate something bad, because literally, you talk about addictions and stuff, it's literally the train wreck has to happen before most of them kind of come around and say, this is really kind of what's going on. And if you're self-aware enough to watch this, almost simulate the train wreck if you need to, because sometimes you need that to kind of to overcome it. The other thing too is, I'm a parent, and listen, I'm no expert on this at all, but I do know this as a parent. I've learned that the older your child gets, the harder it is to let the train wreck happen. So if they're going to fail the test in 5th grade, that's one thing, but if by the time they get out and they're dating or they've got a job, the stakes get a lot higher, and sometimes to have that aha is better to happen at a younger age. And I'm not saying to put them in a position, but sometimes a train wreck is good, or sometimes put them in a position for that self-awareness to take place. And so if there's a magic bullet to this, like I said, it wouldn't be an issue, but I really want to hit this head on. It's difficult, and even you, these two examples, as you were pretty out there before you kind of pulled it together, and even now I know that you're impulsive at different times, and you have to remember it on a moment-by-moment basis, but it's not necessarily an easy thing to do, but it is the key.
Yeah, and I was lucky that I didn't get tossed in jail. I didn't get caught for the stuff most of the stuff. I got caught for a little bit of stuff, but there is perhaps a bottom, a turning point for a lot of young people could be a night in jail. A night in jail. They could actually go, wow, is this where my life is heading? But again, the trigger for everybody is going to be different, and I'm just proud to be part of ADHD Awareness Month and helping to get the word out to folks both diagnosed and undiagnosed, and reach out as much as we can to folks that are in need of that awareness and that trigger.
Excuse me, Milan. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and this is an interesting topic, and I'm hoping to kind of create a conversation, because awareness is not the easiest thing, and I think if minds come together and say, we all talk about the outcome, we got to figure out more practical ways to get some people there. So thanks for coming on and sharing your story, man.
Thank you. I'm glad you surprised me with this topic. It's a powerful topic and an important one. Thanks.
Thanks for listening and watching, everybody. Take care.